The dusty main street of Silverton, 1830. The sun beat down mercilessly on the dirt roads of Silverton, where hope came to die and second chances were as rare as rain in August. Sarah Mitchell stood outside the general store, her calico dress worn but clean, her hands raw from scrubbing other people's laundry. At 26, she was already a widow, already a mother, already invisible to most folks in town. But not to him. Jake, the Hammer Harrison, sat slouched on his horse at the edge of town, watching her. His reputation preceded him like thunder before a storm. They said he'd killed 3 men in Kansas City. They said his heart was made of iron. They said he'd never loved a woman and never would. Sarah felt his eyes on her, burning through the afternoon heat. She clutched her basket tighter, her heart hammering against her ribs. She'd heard the stories. She knew what kind of man he was. Dangerous, unpredictable, alone. If you're enjoying this tale of forbidden frontier love, hit that like button and subscribe for more historical romance stories. Jake dismounted, his boots hitting the ground with purpose. He started walking toward her, slow and deliberate, like a wolf approaching a lamb. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. What did he want with her? The general store. Moments later, Sarah pushed through the store's creaking door, hoping to escape those piercing gray eyes. But escape was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not in a town this small. Not from a man like Jake Harrison. The bell above the door chimed, and she knew without turning that he'd followed her inside. Mrs. Mitchell. His voice was gravel and whiskey, rough from years of shouting commands and swallowing disappointments. She turned slowly, meeting his gaze. Mr. Harrison, I'd like to discuss a business proposition with you. His hat was in his hands now, his fingers worrying the brim. For a dangerous man, he suddenly looked almost nervous. I don't do business with your kind, she said, her voice steadier than her trembling hands. His jaw tightened. You don't even know what kind that is. I know enough. The whole town knows about you. The whole town knows rumors. He stepped closer, and she caught the scent of leather and pine. I'm offering honest work. Your boy, Tommy, he needs a father figure. Sarah's blood ran cold. How did he know her son's name? Sarah's modest cabin, evening. The lamp oil was running low, casting long shadows across the cabin walls. Tommy slept in the corner, his 8-year-old face peaceful in dreams Sarah could no longer afford to have. A knock at the door made her jump. She knew who it would be, even before she opened it. Jake stood on her porch, hat in hand again, looking almost vulnerable in the lamplight spilling from her doorway. I shouldn't have mentioned your boy, he said quickly. That was forward of me. I apologize. Sarah's anger melted slightly. A man like him apologizing? How do you know Tommy's name? I make it my business to know things. He shifted his weight. I've been watching you, not in a sinister way. I see how hard you work. How you keep your head high when this town treats you like you're nothing. Her throat tightened. What do you want from me? I have a ranch 5 miles north. I need help. You need money. It's simple arithmetic. This story is heating up. Don't forget to like and share with anyone who loves a good Western romance. Subscribe to see what happens next. Nothing about you is simple, Mr. Harrison. No, ma'am, it isn't. Then why did she want to say yes? The Harrison Ranch. 3 days later, Sarah had accepted the job, against every instinct. against every warning from the church ladies who whispered behind their fans. But Tommy needed shoes. Tommy needed food. Tommy needed a future. The ranch was bigger than she'd imagined, sprawling across the valley like a small kingdom. The main house stood proud. 2 stories of whitewashed wood that must have cost a fortune to build out here. Jake met her at the gate, his expression unreadable. "You came. I gave my word." She climbed down from the borrowed wagon, Tommy clinging to her skirts. Jake's eyes softened when he looked at the boy. "Tommy, there's a foal in the barn that needs naming. Think you're up for it?" Tommy's eyes went wide, and before Sarah could object, her son was running toward the barn like he'd been given the keys to heaven. "Mr. Harrison, Jake, just Jake when we're here." The way he said "we're" made something flutter in her chest, something she thought had died with her husband. "What exactly will I be doing here, Jake?" He smiled, and it transformed his face entirely. "Everything." The ranch kitchen. 2 weeks later, the routine had become comfortable, dangerously so. Sarah cooked, cleaned, mended Jake's shirts while Tommy learned to ride under the cowboy's patient instruction. She told herself it was just work, just survival, just temporary. But the way Jake looked at her over dinner, the way his hand lingered when he passed her the salt, the way he listened when she spoke like her words were scripture, that wasn't just work. Sarah. He'd started using her first name last week, and she hadn't corrected him. "There's something I need to tell you." Her heart stopped. "What is it?" "The reason I'm alone out here, the reason I have no wife, no family." He stared into his coffee cup like it held all the answers. I wasn't always a good man." "I gathered that." "No. You don't understand." His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "The things they say about me, some of them are true. I did kill those men. They deserved it. But that doesn't make me less of a killer. This confession changes everything. Hit like if you're hooked and subscribe for the next scene of this emotional journey. Share with your friends who love deep, complex characters." Sarah reached across the table, her hand covering his. "We've all done things we regret." His eyes met hers, and she saw the raw hunger there. "Sarah, please don't." But what he was asking her not to do, she couldn't tell. The barn, midnight. Sarah couldn't sleep, her mind racing with thoughts she shouldn't be having about her employer. She'd come to the barn to check on Tommy's horse, or so she told herself. But really, she was restless with feelings she didn't understand, didn't want to name. "Can't sleep either?" She spun around, her heart leaping into her throat. Jake stood in the doorway, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar, his hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. "I was just the horse." "The horse is fine." He stepped inside, closing the distance between them. "Sarah, we need to talk about what's happening here." "Nothing's happening." "Don't lie to me, and don't lie to yourself." His voice was rough with emotion. "I see the way you look at me now, and God help me, I can't stop thinking about you." The air between them crackled with tension. "This is wrong," she whispered. "You're my employer. I'm trying to provide for my son." I know it's wrong, but tell me." He was close enough now that she could feel his breath on her face. "Tell me you don't feel this too." She couldn't, because she did feel it, burning through her like wildfire. The creek, Sunday afternoon. Sarah had insisted on a day of rest, taking Tommy to the creek that ran through Jake's property. She needed distance, needed to think, needed to remember who she was. A respectable widow, a Christian woman, a mother, not someone who spent nights dreaming of a dangerous cowboy's hands on her skin. "Mama, look." Tommy was knee-deep in the water, pointing at something upstream. Jake was riding toward them, his horse moving at an easy trot. She stood quickly, smoothing her dress, hating how her pulse quickened at the sight of him. "Didn't mean to intrude on your day off," he said, dismounting. "But I needed to apologize for last night." "There's nothing to apologize for. There's everything to apologize for." He glanced at Tommy, then back at her. "I crossed a line. You work for me. You're vulnerable. I took advantage of that." Her temper flared. "I'm not some helpless creature, Jake Harrison. If I didn't want you close, I would have said so." His eyes widened slightly. "Are you saying—" "The tension is unbearable. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to see how this forbidden attraction unfolds. Share with anyone who loves slow burn romance. I'm saying—" She took a deep breath. "I'm saying I don't know what I'm saying." But they both knew the truth. They were falling, and there was no stopping it now. The ranch house, storm approaching. The sky had turned the color of bruises, purple and angry as the storm rolled in from the west. Sarah rushed to bring in the laundry, her hair whipping around her face as the wind picked up. Tommy was safe inside, playing with the wooden soldiers Jake had carved for him. "Sarah!" Jake's voice cut through the wind. "Get inside! This one's going to be bad!" She grabbed the last shirt just as the first drops began to fall, fat and heavy, soaking through her dress in seconds. They made it to the porch together, both breathless, both drenched, both suddenly very aware of how thin wet fabric could be. "You're shivering," Jake said, his voice rough. "I'm fine." "You're stubborn. You're bossy." They were arguing, but neither was moving away. Thunder cracked overhead, and Sarah jumped, Jake's hands instinctively reaching out to steady her, and then they were touching, his hands on her arms, her palms flat against his chest, the rain pounding on the roof above them like a tribal drum. Jake. His name was a warning and a prayer. I know we shouldn't. But Sarah. His forehead pressed against hers. I'm tired of fighting this. So was she. God help her. So was she. The parlor, after the storm, Tommy had fallen asleep by the fire, exhausted from the excitement of the storm. Sarah and Jake sat in opposite chairs, a careful distance between them, but the air was still thick with everything unsaid. My wife died in childbirth, Jake said suddenly, breaking the silence. 10 years ago. The baby, too. After that, I didn't see the point in anything. I became the man they say I am, the mean one, the lonely one, the dangerous one. Sarah's heart ached for him. I'm so sorry. I blame God, blame the world, blame myself. He looked at her then, really looked at her. And then you showed up at my door with your boy and your pride and your strength, and for the first time in a decade, I felt something besides anger. Jake, I'm not asking for anything from you, Sarah. I just needed you to know. You've already given me more than you realize. You've reminded me what it feels like to be human again. She stood, crossing the room before she could think better of it, kneeling beside his chair. "You're not the only one who's been brought back to life," she whispered. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. "Tell me to stop, and I will." She didn't tell him to stop. The following morning, Sarah woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of male laughter. Jake and Tommy's voices mixing in the kitchen below. Last night, they kissed. Just kissed. Because she'd pulled away. Because she'd remembered Tommy sleeping nearby. Because she'd remembered the title she'd given herself. "Please don't release your milk inside. Silverton 1830. She'd whispered against his lips. The old frontier saying that meant don't give away everything you have to this town, this place, this moment. Don't let this place take what little you have left. Jake had understood, pulling back with a pained smile. I would never take what isn't freely given, Sarah, and I would never risk your reputation, your future, your son's future for my own desires. Now, in the morning light, she wondered if she'd been a fool to stop. She dressed quickly and descended the stairs. Tommy was showing Jake a drawing he'd made, and the tenderness on the cowboy's face as he praised her son made her chest tight. "Mama," Tommy ran to her, "Jake says we can go to town today. Can we, please?" Sarah's eyes met Jake's over her son's head. Going to town together, like a family? That would start tongues wagging. This relationship is getting serious. Show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing for more scenes. Share this story if it's touching your heart. "Yes," she said, making her choice. "Yes, we can go to town. Let them talk." Silverton Main Street. The stairs started the moment they arrived. Sarah walked beside Jake, Tommy between them, the boy's hand clasped in the cowboy's rough palm. They looked like a family and everyone knew it. Mrs. Henderson from the church gasped audibly. The banker frowned. The other widows whispered behind their handkerchiefs. Sarah lifted her chin higher. "You don't have to do this," Jake murmured. "I can wait in the wagon." "No." Her voice was firm. "I'm not ashamed of you or of us." "Sarah Mitchell." Mrs. Henderson approached, her face pinched with disapproval. "What is the meaning of this display?" "We're shopping, Mrs. Henderson. With that man, have you no regard for your reputation, for your son's future?" Jake's jaw tightened, but Sarah placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Mr. Harrison has been nothing but kind to my son and me, and frankly, my reputation was ruined the day I became a widow without money. At least now I have help, have hope, have someone who sees me as more than just a burden." The crowd that had gathered murmured. Mrs. Henderson's face turned red. "Well, No, ma'am, you probably never have." Sarah took Tommy's hand. "Good day." As they walked away, Jake whispered, "You're incredible." But their victory was short-lived. The sheriff was waiting ahead. The sheriff's office, an hour later. "There's been a complaint," Sheriff Mason said, his face apologetic but firm, "about impropriety, about a widow living alone with a man unchaperoned." Sarah felt her world crumbling. It's not like that. I work for Mr. Harrison." "I believe you, Sarah, but the law is the law. Either you need a proper chaperone or you need to leave the Harrison ranch." Jake stood abruptly, or, his voice was steady, determined, or we get married. The room went silent. Sarah's heart stopped. Jake, you don't have to. I want to. He turned to her, dropping to one knee right there in the sheriff's office. Sarah Mitchell, I know this isn't romantic. I know it's not what you dreamed of, but I'm asking anyway. Marry me. Let me be a father to Tommy. Let me protect you, provide for you, love you the way you deserve to be loved. Tears streamed down her face. You do this? For me? I'd do anything for you. His gray eyes were fierce with emotion. I was dead before you came into my life. You brought me back, and I don't want to go back to that darkness. So please, Sarah, please don't release your milk inside Silverton. Don't give away your hope.